late 60s, Motown. They go from, I hear a symphony. Sorry, yeah. I know I can't sing, but, and then they went to the political stuff. Ball of Confusion, Papa Was a Rolling Stone, Marvin Gaye did What's Going On, and the ecology and the war, the civil rights movement were dominant themes in everybody's music. Stuff, people who were just doing the dancing and romance and stuff, everybody had to do a political album because it was the tenor of the times. You had to do it. But then it started shifting, right? You had the disco thing, people went back to the party scene. But then it got just to the, well, this crime thing's kind of cool. And it sort of evolved in the high point, the low point, whatever you want to call it, NWA, the whole gangster rap deal. Now, I'm not here to beat up on rap. My generation started rap. I know it's hard to believe because I got the gray hair and no hair combination. But I don't have a beef with rap. The problem was when it became such a dominant theme among young people and it wasn't balanced out with other stuff. And the dominant themes in there were the guns, the drugs, the misogyny. Because, they treat women like dirt in a lot of these videos, right? And, the women ain't objecting. Sometimes they do their version. They got their whole booty shaking thing, even though there's a woman doing the video. So they're doing it just as bad. But it's the whole negative mentality that came with nothing political, nothing about the war, nothing about the nature of our communities, at least not in a transformative sense. In fact, it's a glorification sense, right? Man, I'm smoking these blunts, and this is great. I got my gun, don't make me have to use it. I got all these women, or hoes, or whatever they call them. Think about how the music evolved. All right, and then the last piece on that, the cultural shift. We moved away from the adult kind of stuff that you want people to grow into a sort of a different dynamic. So school, you got to be twice as good, got to get your education, all of that. That started getting optional. And then the jobs part did too. So all of a sudden, boy, you either gonna go to college or get a job. You don't always hear that. You could go to houses where nobody worked and nobody went to school. When I was a prosecutor in DC in the early 90s, you go visit people. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody's at home. Everybody's at home. Watching cable or something. And not even Discovery Channel, but, well, I was going to say BET, but I'm trying to beat up on them too much right now, Not trying to go there, but nothing educational or beneficial. There's nothing positive going on in those households, right? Nobody's bringing in any money. There's none of that stuff. Getting up and going to work is a sort of a strange concept to big pockets of our community. And then when kids are going to school, they're skipping class. Truancy is one of the biggest problems we've got in Prince George's County right now. We're saying we shall overcome, and that's critical. But for a lot of these kids, the message needs to be, we shall go to class. Because you ain't going to learn nothing you need to know, out on the street. You won't learn algebra out there if you're not in class, but you're out on the street hanging out at 7-Eleven trying to steal some Twinkies or something. We got to turn that around. So that's where we are right now. We're not all in the same place. There are different parts of our community in different places. But here's the key. We all have to be in this together. So those of us in this room, we need to count ourselves among the fortunate, among the blessed. But as Dr. King would have said, that's not enough. It's not enough to be blessed, right? That's what that song was about. Help someone along the way? Okay, we need to do that part. So 2 pieces here. Let me just to wrap up on this. Things that we need to do, I think, as we move forward. And this is based on some of the things Dr. King talked about. One is we got to change the whole conception of crime in our community. Depending on who you talk to, there's too much effort to try and talk around the fact that we're doing these things to ourselves, okay? Now, I'm not saying that there aren't factors bigger than our community that create these conditions, but I'm really getting tired of hearing people try and rationalize the level of violence in our community based on the circumstances. And let me tell you why. All right. High correlations of crime in communities with high poverty. Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt about it. And is there better justice for rich folks than for poor folks? Yeah. Absolutely. Gen 6 wouldn't have happened like that at the beginning if those kids had been wealthy. No two ways about it. Duke lacrosse, if all them lacrosse players had been black, they'd still be in jail, right? We know that. We know that. But that doesn't excuse everything else. Homicide is the leading cause of death for young black males in our community. Has been for 2 decades, alternating with HIV. All right, which is another source of issue. But let me stay on violence here for a second. Now think back. The point where we are in our community right now, from the standpoint of poverty, we've never been wealthier than we are now. We've never had the opportunities that we have now. It's not perfect. Believe me, it's not perfect. But today, we have levels of violence. If it's the economics and the poverty that were really driving the crime would have been way off the hook back in the day, right? Back when we had dirt roads, dirt floors, no heating. I remember outhouses, people putting cardboard up to keep the cold air out, hanging blankets over the windows. Think about that. Think about where we were 40 years ago in some of these communities. If it had been economics that drove crime solely, homicide would have been off the charts. It's not just that. Part of it is cultural. Part of it is cultural. Now, yeah, we need to help these guys see, yes, you have a viable economic alternative. If you go to school and get a job, here's how you can move up. But part of it also has to be, look, I know you had a tough day, but you didn't have to kill that brother. Let me tell you some of the homicides we've had in Prince George's County just in the last few days, all right? We just sentenced a guy last week. Man went to the store to get pizza for his son. 4-year-old son said, Daddy, I want pizza. He goes out, it's Friday night around 8 o'clock, so it's not like he's out, with the night owls or anything. And he goes to Jerry's Subs, I think it was. Orders the pizza. Guy asks him, hey, can I have a cigarette? He says no. And he steps outside to wait for his pizza and lights up a cigarette. He's going to start smoking. The guy he said no to comes outside, pulls out a shotgun, and blows his head off of his shoulders over a cigarette. Over a cigarette. The Flowers shooting. Any of you all, I know some of you are college students, you may be from other places. Flowers is a high school. It's the science and tech magnet, right? And this is for, Woodmore, Mitchellville, through there, right? This isn't, Compton. Okay. Girl gets in a beef with some kids and some boys in the school. She goes and tells the boys who live in her area. I think it's Glenard and Palmer Park or something like that, right? And this is like stuff, they can't even tell you exactly what the beef was. But I'm sitting here listening, I'm thinking, at best in the day, this would have been a fist fight. At best, okay? Turns into a gunfight. But only one side brought guns. And you know what? Nobody taught them how to aim those guns. So they're spraying bullets into a crowd of high school students, shooting at one guy that they're supposed to be mad at, pick off these girls accidentally, and killed that girl, Miss Richardson, with a stray bullet. Over nothing. And it's not just those. His dog woke me up. He cut in line. He called me a clown. He took my seat. These are real homicides, just here in Prince George's County.